Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm one of your co-hosts, Blake Ruffino. Alongside me is my co-host, my counterpart and co-host, Joe DeLeone. Good evening, good sir. How are you? Sorry, this coaching carousel's got my mind completely fried.
Well, I was just about to say, Blake, I'm doing pretty good, minus not having any idea what's happening anymore. I was just saying to you, I was engulfed a little bit with, I was writing a mock draft for the Giants, and it didn't occur to me. We were set to talk about Jon Sumrall today, and we'll get into that in a second. And it didn't occur to me that he reversed course on the news that we were going to be breaking down. Again, we'll get into that in a second. I can't believe we've reached the point already that everything is changing within an hour. I feel like it's impossible to find any consistency. And I'm just going to keep repeating the same thing I keep saying to you every single time we open the show. This year's Coaching Carousel is going to be an absolute S show. It is going to be a complete and utter mess.
Completely bonkers. And now, Florida people are posting that their plane is from Gainesville is headed to Jimmy Sexton's office in Atlanta. And that we got Kiffin. We told you it was a done deal.
I don't even know. I don't know what's real. I don't know what's real, Blake. I have no idea what's real.
We already tracked one plane, right? We already tracked one plane, and the Kiffins came off of it. What's this plane going to do? I mean, who really knows? But here's the truth that we do know. We know that every Ruffino and Joe show is presented to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Download the FD Sportsbook app today. If you have Android or Apple iPhone, download both of those or download it from either one of those. You can do the futures, the parlays, whatever it is that you want to do this week, money line, rivalry week coming up. But the number one sportsbook, in our opinion, in the entire country is our good friends over at FanDuel, and that's why we have partnered with them. So every Ruffino and Joe show this football season is presented to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. But number two, here's what we do know. Jon Sumrall in Florida had an agreement to interview or go into an interview about their head coaching vacancy, which it was reported by Florida on 3. Then Pete Nakos came behind that, Joe, and stated Jon Sumrall confirmed through Pete Nakos of On 3, confirmed that not only is the meeting not going down, but that Jon Sumrall has taken his name out of the Florida coaching hire. When you get into all this, when you talk about this, when you go through this, Joe, what are your thoughts?
I got to be honest with you, dude. I'm running out of thoughts to have on this stuff because I don't understand why this coaching carousel can't just operate normally. Now, I understand that the timeline of all of this has been it's turned into a chaotic cluster F because of the fact of the playoff coming up, the transfer portal. We've already got kids putting their names into the transfer portal. You've got signing day that's not very far away. Trying to navigate this, it's new. We've only done it for a couple of years, and it's creating, obviously, a lot of tension. But Blake, why are we at this point where we've got 2 days of Lane Kiffin dancing around and getting everybody's attention, and now we've got the hokey pokey happening with Jon Sumrall putting his foot in and then putting his foot out for if he actually wants to interview at the job? We can get into the dynamics of this and kind of pitch some conspiracy theories, but my only thought with this is, can guys, if they have interest or not, can they actually commit to the interest that they have?
Well, let me tell you what I think happened here. So obviously these guys have agents.
Yes.
And when the Florida coaching job comes calling, you knock on that door. I do wonder at the time that it came out, I would assume that Jon Sumrall was at practice. Most teams practice around 3:30 while school is in. How does he know that his name's being floated out there? But then you say, well, then how did Pete Nakos get a hold of him? And what did Jon Sumrall tell Pete Nakos in reference to him not wanting to be a part of that? But, Joe, here's the thing that Florida people I don't think are fully, how do I want to say this, understanding at the current moment. Number one, your AD is not running this search. And I think when they booked an interview with Jon Sumrall and they said, wait, another G6 coach from the state of Louisiana, didn't we just fire a guy who was in the G6 who came from the state of Louisiana and Billy Napier? Didn't we just do that? no to Jon Sumrall because their fan base erupted. And then all of a sudden it was canceled. Now, maybe they gave Jon Sumrall the out, but the biggest question here is, why are you trying to line up an interview with Jon Sumrall if what you told all of us was that Lane Kiffin was a done deal?
Well, the inverse of that
Don't talk to me about backup plan. Don't you dare. Y'all have all come out here and talked about, not you, Joe, but they've all come out here and talked about, oh, this is a done deal. This is a done deal. It's a done deal. LSU is not a factor. Well, him going back to Ole Miss is not a factor. It's not going to happen. Then why do you have a plan B if it's done?
Okay, the inverse of this, and this might antagonize you a little bit. What if this was in the books for a while? It was found out that it was in the books and he was supposed to meet with them, and something changed today. And that something being, has there been an advancement in getting Lane Kiffin? Is the Ole Miss job now expected to come open, and is Sumrall's attention being shifted because of that? So that what I'm trying to get at here is this a potential sign that the momentum towards Lane Kiffin is starting to happen? Maybe he does not want to be considered to be somebody's backup option. Maybe he decided that he wanted to prioritize these other SEC jobs that are going to prioritize him.
They did a meeting for 2 weeks and they got Lane Kiffin and they didn't. No, that's not how this works. You mean to tell me that you're going to sit down with a head coach who's going to be your next head coach potentially, and that you forgot about the meeting?
No. I'm not saying that you forgot about the meeting, but if Lane tells you that he's coming and that he's ready to sit down and talk through whatever final details or any of that stuff, I think that you'd cancel any upcoming meetings that you have.
Sure, could have possibly happened. Could have easily happened. That could have definitely happened. I don't know if it has or if it hasn't happened, but that could have easily happened. I mean, look, they're tracking planes from Gainesville to Atlanta.
Yeah. That's what I'm getting at. Is just like it happened in such a snap to the point where I didn't even know until you and I sat down to go live that it feels like this is. It does not smell like something that Sumrall would be like, oh, this got out, I need to cancel the meeting.
You don't know Jon Sumrall then. I mean, by the way, but there's a lot of smoke to him to Ole Miss. What if he does want to go to Ole Miss? I mean, I have a hard time believing that within 15 minutes, Lane Kiffin picked up the phone and said, we agree, and then you cancel Jon Sumrall. That's a very big what if. Very big. By the way, he was on the SEC teleconference today telling Keith Carter, well, then basically fire me. You don't want me coaching? Fire me.
Wait, what was the quote that he had?
He told the reporters who came after him on the SEC teleconference today, he didn't say fire me, but what he's saying was, why won't I be here next week? Why won't I be here next week? If I'm leaving Ole Miss, why won't I be here next week? What makes you think I'm not coaching in the playoff? And the reporters didn't push back. Unless Ole Miss told him that he's not coaching, that would be the thing that I'm saying. Maybe that did happen. Why are they doing it right now?
Oh, I'm seeing okay, here's the quote, the exact quote. Do you expect to coach next week as you're preparing for this game? Do you know something I don't know? I'm asking you, do I expect to coach next week? Why would I not expect to coach next week? I mean, I expect to coach against Florida. I expected to coach against Florida too, so I don't even understand the question of how I would not expect to coach next week.
There you go.
Why would I be at work?
And what is he essentially saying there? He's essentially saying to Keith Carter, which it's not a shot to anybody else, but Keith Carter, fire me then. What else is he saying?
What do you think of, to bring us back to Sumrall, not to try and evaluate why he would do this? Do you think that, first of all, do you think Sumrall is going to leave Tulane?
Yeah,
because I feel like that you think that he's going to end up taking one of these SEC jobs. You think?
Yes,
he's gonna
I do. Yeah, I do.
Okay. Which one do you think is the best spot for him?
I don't think Tulane's the best spot for him. They're not.
No, I'm asking which of the SEC jobs are the best spot.
I thought it was Auburn, but it looks like listen, there is a lot of smoke. Rumors, not reported, but rumors that if Lane were to leave, he thinks Ole Miss is a better job than Auburn.
I would agree with that. Look at the success that the two of them have had in the same timeline of two different coaches.
Joe, I got to be real with you. This has not been talked about. When we talk about the best jobs, The SEC just went to permanent opponents. Who's Auburn's?
Who is it?
Georgia and Alabama.
And Ole Miss has Mississippi State and who else?
LSU.
It's not great, but
would you rather, I mean, with all due respect to my team that I love the most, would you rather play LSU and Mississippi State every year, or would you rather play Georgia or Alabama every year? You tell me. By the way, that means you also got to play in those years LSU, Texas, Oklahoma, Florida. I mean, I think the writing might be a little bit on the wall here for Auburn. I think this is more of an indictment on Auburn that Jon Sumrall is shopping his name than anything. So now where does Auburn turn? Because if everything was in due diligence for Jon Sumrall to Auburn, what's going on there?
Sumrall posted, by the way, most important meeting I have all week, Wednesday night with the quarterbacks. And he posted a picture of his of him with his quarterbacks. So I know he's really trolling. He's taking advantage of his chance to troll. I think that you bring up a really good point.
Listen to Jon Sumrall very quickly. He's gonna tell you like it is. There's no sugarcoating. Continue.
I was going to agree with what you just brought up. Auburn's supposed to be the slam dunk job for him. He's from the area. The Kentucky job's probably not opening. Not a lot of people have talked about this, but Kentucky's been kind of hot lately for what Kentucky can be hot. They've been playing pretty well as of late. They have not been as bad as they started the season. So I don't think Stoops gets fired. If they finish 6-6, they're not firing Stoops. If that doesn't come open and he legitimately wants to jump up to the SEC, if he's willing to look around and take interest for some of these other jobs, I think that's pretty telling. I really don't think that Auburn is as good of a job as many people make it out to be. I think it has become increasingly hard with the way that Alabama dominated the past 2 decades under Saban. Even though they won national championships in that span, the fact that they keep firing coaches proves that there's a lot of meddling going on. I don't know why anyone would sign up for that.
Auburn is the hardest job in the country. You're going to have to convince me otherwise. They sit smack dab in the middle of the University of Alabama and Georgia. And you're going to have to convince me with those permanent opponents that that's easy. Name another school who's got permanent opponents that are those two. Because I think of Michigan, they got Ohio State, Michigan State. I think of Notre Dame, they got USC, and who else?
Well, yeah, they don't have like a second confirmed.
I mean, Miami, but you don't play Miami every year. You just played Miami for the first time since how long?
Well, Miami's got Florida State has obviously been underwhelming, and Florida has been underwhelming, but Florida State could be hard 2 teams that you play every single year.
Sure. The state of Florida, I mean, I guess if you look at Texas, I mean, but Texas and Texas A&M, I mean, maybe A&M, but A&M's got a shitload of money. I mean, their permanent opponents are Texas and LSU, and if I'm not mistaken, Oklahoma. So I guess maybe, but the counteract to A&M would be like, hey man, Joe, the best team in the SEC right now is Georgia. I mean, I don't think that that's a hot take at all. Look, do I think Jon Sumrall's leaving? Yes. Do I think Tulane is one of the best G5 or G6 conferences in the country? Yes. I just don't. Because you know why? Because Tulane benefits from getting the leftovers that LSU does not get. There's not another P4 team in this state. So they're able to benefit off the low 4, high 3-star guys, and they just continue to push them out. It's why Willie Fritz had success. It's why Jon Sumrall has success. I mean, maybe, Joe. I don't know what this Jon Sumrall thing means or doesn't mean, but here's what we know. It was confirmed that it was going to go down. And something spooked somebody. I mean, maybe
that's what I'm getting at. The randomness of this to happen so quickly, and I really don't think that this was unsubstantiated rumors. I really don't think. By the way, this is one of the.
It's not a rumor. Pete Nakos confirmed that the meeting was going down.
I was going to say that this is my least favorite part of the transfer portal and the coaching carousel, when you have fan bases, and this is going to come off as really pompous, but when you have fan bases of smaller programs that get bent out of shape over their head coaches being mentioned for openings, for their players, their quarterbacks being mentioned as rumored to go in the transfer portal, or rumors that other schools are lurking and sending them offers, it really is annoying that there is this naivete in a way that you think that, like, he said he's not leaving. He says he's not leaving. It's the whole Kenny Dillingham thing that we talked about yesterday. All these Arizona State fans are a perfect example. Like, he told us he's not leaving. How many times have coaches said that? When you get offered a pay raise that's $5 or more million more, and you've got an NIL budget that's 4 or 5 times more what you currently have available to you, you're going to jump at that. If you get offered a job, you are going to jump at that. So the whole bit with, if Sumrall's trying to pretend here that maybe he wasn't actually supposed to have a meeting with Florida, I'm not buying it. He's in the mix for all these jobs. He's obviously trying to quiet it down.
Well, here's another thing. You know what my conspiracy theory was? My conspiracy theory was it's a shot at Lane Kiffin because he is going to go to Ole Miss. Let me tell you my theory. Let's just say, hypothetically speaking, Jon Sumrall is the next head coach of Ole Miss. Don't know that it's going to happen. Don't know that it's not. Jon Sumrall yesterday found out that his team is the G6 representative of the playoff. As of right now, they are the G. Well, let's live in reality for just a moment.
Okay.
Boy, you could walk Jon Sumrall out in that podium and say, you know what? I never left Tulane. I had people said I had a meeting with Florida and I canceled, and I told them like that. No, I don't. I think it's a shot at Lane Kiffin. I think it's a shot. I think they're going to use that if he ever takes that Ole Miss job, that Keith Carter walks him out there and he's going to say, when my team was in the playoffs and I would not go anywhere, I would stay at Tulane because I'm never going to leave my team.
I mean,
I think they played Florida. If you want me to be honest, I think Florida got played, because here's the truth. There's no way that you did not know throughout the day where things sat with Lane Kiffin. Joe, coaching searches don't work like that. Finite details happen. He did not confirm within 30 minutes. And here's another truth. You wouldn't want everybody knowing that he committed based off of him wanting to coach the playoff and him saying that, and then you canceling the meeting with Jon Sumrall. So to your point earlier, I don't think Florida got a phone call and said, hey, I'm coming. I think Jon Sumrall is playing the game too. And I think him and Keith Carter, if it ever came to pass, are going to say, I never left my team like your former coach. That's my conspiracy theory.
Well, I think that's intriguing. I think that the way that you're framing this, I don't know if this is directly what you're trying to say here. You could have built out some sort of behind closed doors arrangement here where, I don't know if this is technically legal. In terms of contracts, I don't know if this is technically unethical. Communicating with Sumrall,
Lane's communicating with LSU and Florida. So
so what I'm getting at here though is having a conversation with Sumrall and a commitment from Sumrall that, like, after I play in this playoff game, I am going to come to Ole Miss, and that then allows you to let Lane finish the season. Maybe that there is some sort of maybe that's why the meeting got canceled. Maybe Lane has made a decision, and then Sumrall got a commitment from Carter. And to be very clear, this is all speculation.
Yeah,
this is a situation that there's a small number of people in this world that actually know what's happening here. It's like 5 to 10 people that actually know what's going on. It's been that bad. This is one of the few coaching situations, Blake, where I have not gotten consistent information. I don't think that anyone.
You're not going to. You know why? No. You know why you're not?
Why? It's Lane.
No. As someone who's literally been in it all day, and you know what I've been going through since 6:30. No, because he hasn't decided yet, and there's no decision. There's no decision that's been made.
That's a good point.
So, Jon Sumrall. I think here's the thing. I'll keep saying this. Ole Miss, Joe, did you play Little League Baseball?
I did.
Did your coach ever tell you act like you've been there before? Like, meaning the simple nature of, hey, I know you're excited, but don't like act like you've been there. Show some class. Ole Miss hasn't been there before. They don't know what they're going through. He might stay. He might go. I don't know. But you mean to tell me that all of this is a troll job and you got the Secretary of State, you got the CEO of Realtree, you got all of these, Matt Bowers, you got all of these people in on a troll job? That's what you're trying to convince me of. Think about that in your mind. Think about that logically. Well, this is a hypothetical. Think about that logically and then come back to me. So I guess we'll see. All right. Let's move on here. Joe, last night, the college football playoff rankings came out, and boy, we're probably about to get into a rant and a fight here. As Joe and I suggest every single week, we do not list off 1 through 25 who was named in the 1 through 25 in order. We suggest that you go and find it and you look at it for our debate. But Joe, for our debate here, I've got to start off with this. The chairman of the board for the College Football Playoff Committee had to step down, the AD from Baylor, and the Arkansas AD, Hunter Yurachek, had to step in because of an unseen circumstance that I'm sure nobody was anticipating to happen. Hunter Yurachek went out there last night and was asked, listen, when you look at the University of Miami and you look at Notre Dame, in that room, was there a conversation about those two teams because they had the same record and both teams played? And he said, no, we didn't even discuss Notre Dame and Miami because Miami lost to two teams that are currently unranked, which isn't true, but two teams that are currently unranked, and Notre Dame lost to Miami and they lost to Texas A&M. Joe, I got to be real with you. We are walking a very dangerous line here. Dangerous. Why in the world would I ever schedule an out-of-conference week 1 game again against a P4 opponent when games on the field don't matter? But all of this rankings, and I'm sure we'll get into all of it, what is your reaction?
The full quote from Yurachek, I want to have this out there. I think when you look at Notre Dame and Miami, we really compare the losses of those two teams. Miami has lost to two unranked teams. Notre Dame has lost to two teams that are ranked in our top 13. And so we really haven't compared those two teams. They haven't been in similar comparative pools to date, but Miami is creeping up into the stage where they will be compared to Notre Dame if something happens above them. Okay. So I tweeted about this and I actually I fired it off and then woke up to realize that 1,000 people had liked it and a bunch of people have been interacting with it. I think my biggest problem with this has nothing to do with the ordering. Forget the ordering of where the teams are. Forget if you think Notre Dame should be ahead of Miami. By the way, I personally think that Alabama should be ahead of Notre Dame. I think that was a misstep. It is a serious problem that the committee admitted that they did not have a conversation about two teams that played each other, that have common opponents, and have the same record to this point in the year.
And that they played.
This is my point, that they played one another and one team beat the other. I am not asking for the committee to sit and have and move Miami ahead of Notre Dame. It's not what I'm saying. Remove that for 2 seconds, folks. If you have so many commonalities between two teams and you're not at least talking about it, what the hell are you doing? The whole process of putting together these rankings, the whole purpose of it is for you to sit in the room and to talk through the placement of all of the teams. If all of us nationally at the beginning of this week were debating, should Miami or Notre Dame be ranked first? Who should be ranked ahead of the other? If that conversation was occurring, why weren't you also having it? It shows that they're blind to the interests of college football fans, and they're blind to the importance of establishing consistent criteria and having in-depth conversations to determine who needs to go where. Again, we can sit here, we can yell about the ordering of who needs to be in what position or whatnot. But the fact that they didn't have at least a discussion on it really worries me. We're not talking about a team that's at 9 and a team that's got an extra loss and that's all the way back at 20. We're talking about 8 and 13. 8 and 13. They played each other. One team lost to the other. I don't know how they can recover from something like this, because I've already lost faith after they had a really solid first ranking.
All right. I know you don't want to talk about ordering. Now, we're going to do
I don't have an issue talking. I'm talking about for my specific rant. I'm just saying that we can talk about
our
ordering.
Projections, which you and I are going to do a little bit later. It's what we're projecting is going to happen, not what we believe, not what's going on, what we project. Okay, just so we have that out of the way. Joe, games on the field have got to matter. You have a problem, a massive problem inside the committee, and I know last week we yelled at one another about this. You have a sitting chairman of the College Football Playoff Committee who's going through a coaching search. And I know for a fact, because the team that I cover on a full-time basis, that he was standing on the sideline all Saturday when LSU played Arkansas. Did or did not Notre Dame and Pitt play at the same time? You know how I know that they did? Because I saw both of them playing at the same damn time. Did he go back and watch Notre Dame Pitt? He didn't even have an interest in talking about two teams that have the same record in Miami, whether home or away, beat Notre Dame. 27-24. It happened on August the 31st. We all saw it. Joe, this is a dangerous place that we are in as a college football universe. Games on the field right now in this expanded playoff just aren't mattering. Now, if Miami loses and they have a third loss, by all means, drop them. By all means. It is what it is. You can have the week 1 argument and say, well, Notre Dame is a lot better right now than Miami. I don't disagree with you that they are a better team than Miami right now. Joe, Miami's coming off of a win where they blew out NC State. They blew them out. The same NC State team that beat undefeated Georgia Tech, who was teetering in your top 12 the week before. The same team, by the way. Just throwing that out there. I got to be real with you. How do you not have Miami ahead of Notre Dame? You have them in the playoff. But you didn't put Oklahoma behind Alabama, did you? You didn't. So why aren't games mattering? This was my argument a year ago when I said this is why AQs shouldn't happen. Because you have 2 borderline playoff teams in South Carolina and Clemson. Joe, the game played out on the field, and it did not matter. Week 1 games, yes, they are a long time ago. They have got to matter. Because if I'm a sitting AD, there is no way in blue hell, why would I schedule a P4 opponent?
The timing of it, to me, doesn't matter. And I think that's where a lot of this gets missed.
Okay, but hold on. Let me rudely interrupt you. If it does not matter, then you're going to have to now explain to me how a head-to-head at any given point in time doesn't matter.
Because it matters, because what is Miami's next best win? And on top of this, they have situation. Wait. Okay, their best win is Notre Dame. They don't have a solid, like a really, really good win after that. The problem is, there's just a very quite simple answer for Miami. You have to win the games that you're supposed to win. You have to. You need to be held accountable when you show up and you play poorly against SMU, who's not ranked, and you play poorly against a mediocre Louisville team that is also now not ranked. And the worst part about it is because those two teams play this weekend, either of those losses is going to look worse at the end of this week because one of those teams is going to have a really mediocre record. Blake, at the end of the day, like, we can sit here and we can talk about how it is obviously important. This is not the same thing as Oklahoma, Alabama, because Oklahoma and Alabama have similar schedules where they've played challenging opponents and they have relatively similar resumes, except Alabama's is maybe a little bit harder, but we make that decision based on the head-to-head.
But they
this circumstance, wait. This circumstance, but we can't just make the decision purely off of they beat you. You have to win the games that you're supposed to win, Blake.
And
Miami had an incredibly easy schedule, and they couldn't win the game. But they did. But they did it, though. They did it, though. They didn't win the games that they were supposed to win. You have to be. You can't lose to SMU. You can't shit your pants at the beginning of November.
First, did they or did they not beat Notre Dame? Yes or no?
They did, but they can't shit their pants and expect to just get in. You can't do that. You shouldn't be rewarded for that.
Sounds good. You know what else Notre Dame shouldn't be rewarded for? Getting in a dogfight with a 1-9 Boston College team.
They still beat them. They still won that game.
And you look like dog shit when you did it.
We could sit here and pinpoint other bad performances for plenty of these teams in the top 25.
You can't come out here and say, what is Miami's next best win when the first best win that they have is you? You can't do that.
Yes, I can.
No.
Yes, I can.
Okay, then guess what? Then the beginning half of the season doesn't matter anymore.
You talk all the time about playing challenging schedules, Blake. This is the example of Notre Dame playing a far more challenging schedule.
And they went on the field and beat you. Newsflash, Peter Pan. Games on the field have got to matter. You can say, well, it's week one. It's week one. Well, guess what?
I didn't say it's week one. I said nothing about the timing of when the game was played.
You literally said.
No, I didn't. When did that? I literally said it. There's nothing to do with timing.
Timing doesn't matter.
I literally said timing doesn't matter. They lost to that.
Then stay with me here. If you're Notre Dame, then if the game and the timing doesn't matter, then throw it as a win. So you don't know when. If I just gave you a blank resume and said, hey, listen, Miami's got a loss to SMU and they have a loss to Louisville, but they also have a win against Notre Dame. You don't know when the week happened. You have no idea, but I'm putting a blank resume in front of you and saying, hey, you know what? They still beat Miami, but you don't know. So based off of your own logic, your own simple logic, the resume, which does matter, which they came out and said resume and strength of schedule matters, then your whole argument is flawed.
No, it's not. No, yes, nothing you just said broke down my argument.
What did you say for not letting you finish?
What's your point?
Okay, then if it doesn't matter when it happens, if it doesn't matter, then if I show you the resume, then you can't say, oh, well, they play better or they play worse, Miami did, down the stretch. If it never matters when the wins and losses do or don't matter based off of your logic and their win is against you, now defend that.
My whole point with this, Blake, is it has no. I'm Blake. I absolutely can defend it. I'm trying to just simply state that I think anyone who just tries to bring up the fact that this game was in the beginning of the year, it's a handicap for Notre Dame and they could play the card of that they had a young quarterback in. I think that that's lazy. I think that's a bad argument. I think that to just point out that these teams look different than they did at the beginning of the year, it's lazy. It's still the 2025 season. There is a gigantic gap between the teams that Notre Dame lost to and the teams that Miami lost to. That has to matter. That has to mean something. When you're losing games that you're supposed to win, we're not talking about if Miami went up there and lost to a highly ranked team. We're not talking about that. Two unranked opponents that aren't in the ACC title race at the current moment and are boxing you out of the ACC title race. Miami's not even in the race for their own conference because they lost these two games.
Well, I'm glad you brought up strength of schedule earlier because the rank among FBS teams' remaining schedule, Notre Dame's is 91st in the country, while Miami's is 48th. And the season's not over yet. So when you look at this whole
Who do they
power
play?
index,
Pitt.
Joe, it's literally right here on
No,
ESPN.
I know, but wait, you're saying the remaining schedule, the rank of their remaining schedule?
Go look at it on ESPN.
Yeah, but wait.
REM strength of schedule. Rank
Okay.
them up. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying there's a flaw. There's a flaw with that. Notre Dame's playing Stanford and Syracuse.
Okay, and you said that weeks don't matter.
What's the overall strength of schedule for both?
The overall strength of schedule, since it's such a massive difference, one is 38 and one is 42.
Who is 38?
Notre Dame.
What's their strength of record?
Their strength of record is 39th.
Notre Dame's is?
Yes, based off of this.
What's Miami's?
Miami. 11th.
Their strength of record is 11th.
Hold on, let me zoom in. What do you do the plus? How do you do the plus? Is it F1 plus?
I don't know. I don't have a
Control plus. Control plus. Miami's is 16th. Notre Dame's is 12th. It's the first thing when you look at college football strength of schedule. Since it's such a wide gap.
So Notre Dame is ahead of them in strength of record.
Yes, but it's not a massive. You talked about it being a massive gap. It's not a massive gap.
No, I was specific to the losses that they had.
Sure, and they still beat you.
Notre Dame lost to the best team in the SEC.
Okay, if you want to talk about the losses, you got to talk about the wins, which is the only thing that matters, and their win is against you. Newsflash, they beat you. They beat you. You can't do this.
I can.
No, you can't. You know why you're doing it?
No, it has nothing to do with who I root for, Blake.
Can I see your shirt?
I am one of the least biased Notre Dame fans that you're going to find.
And you also said in your own words last night that it is a travesty that what is going on with Miami.
No, I said it's a travesty with the logic of how they handled
well, then what's his logic?
The discussion.
Well, then what's his logic? His logic is they didn't talk about it. So when
that's a problem.
Okay, it is a problem. But when you get down to it, wins aren't mattering anymore. So if we're going to get back to the crux of it, if we're going to get back to them not talking about it, they all got to be fired. How can you not talk about that? We just did that for 7 minutes.
Yeah.
How did you not? So we just had the conversation in a massive debate, did we not?
Yes, we did.
That's the point. That's the point. Do you see what you and I just did there? We just had an 8-minute conversation and debate about who should be overhoomsed. They didn't even do it. The chat is going stupid. Why? Because logical sports fans, the reason I enticed this argument is because they didn't have it. As I stated in the beginning, Notre Dame is the better team right now. I'm with you. Nobody's going to deny that. To say that you did not have the debate that you and I just had is criminal. Wins aren't mattering anymore, Joe. They're not.
I can't go that far because I think that to build an effective, it is an elaborate conversation that requires multiple variables. I just want to throw this in there.
What happens if Miami goes out there and beats Pitt worse than they did?
Well, then this conversation changes. But we're talking about, what was the Notre Dame Pitt score? Notre Dame Pitt.
37 to
15. It was 37 to 15. Okay. So they'd have to beat them by 22 points. Blake, if they beat them by more than 22, I'm willing to have the conversation because.
Hold on. You already have a common opponent. You already have multiple common. NC State, which they blew out worse than you, and they have a bigger win than you. I mean, I'm sorry, Joe, but they do. They have a bigger win.
Wait, but that's wait, hold on. They
have a bigger win than you.
41-0. What's the bigger win?
You. So you have a common.
What if USC wins this weekend? Does that not bolster Notre Dame's resume?
Sure, it will. But you said in your picks in a minute that they're not going to.
That has nothing to do with it. I want to wait. Okay, not to stick on this because before
you already have a common opponent, though.
Okay, so when we're sticking on this way too long.
Okay, All right.
They're not the only two teams. I'm just saying.
Okay, let's move on. You're right.
We're just having the same argument over and over again.
I would take Notre Dame out of the playoff.
Okay. Now you're just trying to anger me. Blake,
Right,
I wanted to just quickly bring up on a non-real debate topic and more of just like a serious
Why
note.
Texas Tech is at 5?
No, I wanted to bring up that Georgia is in a ridiculously perfect position. I think that not enough people are talking about this. We actually got a super chat, your step uncle, who said, good or bad, UGA gets a bye and misses the SEC championship. So I understand that the SEC has a lot of value.
Essentially get 2 byes.
This is my point. I know that there's a lot of not getting to play in the SEC championship game. It holds a lot more weight than any other conference. And I'm sure that it kind of sucks that you don't get to play in it. But because they lost to Alabama, and Alabama's going to go play Texas A&M likely in the SEC championship game, you get a bye week of not playing in the championship weekend. You then get multiple weeks off before you get to play your first game. This is like unprecedented, the amount of time that they're going to have to prepare for their first opponent, which I don't know if that's necessarily a good or a bad thing because of the way that last year's first round playoff game played out. There were other things that were happening with it being Stockton's first start, Kirby's dad passing away. I think that this is going to be huge for them. And I think that this really primes them to go on the playoff run that we've been projecting.
Oh, no.
What?
Oh, shit. I wasn't muted. All right. Keep going. Sorry.
Are you good?
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. I thought I was muted. Continue. It's
okay.
Not significant.
I was just saying that I think
it is significant, but it's not significant. Continue.
Okay. I won't ask you what it is. I can probably assume what it's related to. My point here is that I think out of any team that has been seeded where they currently sit, Georgia is in the best position. There's even a theoretical possibility, Blake, that if Indiana loses to Ohio State and that game doesn't go well, that Georgia moves up above them. If Texas A&M loses to Alabama, Georgia could end up as the 2 seed in this situation, and they don't even play in their conference.
And see, Joe, here's the thing, too. You know what I think teams are wanting right now? I don't think anybody wants to be at number 1. Have you seen the bracket the last 2 years of the teams that you would have to go to if you're at number 1? So you're right about Georgia. Listen, Alabama's run game not showing up and Auburn's defense being the way that it is, I'm not saying that Alabama can't have another loss here. So you never really know. They could get in with all this tiebreaker stuff. We haven't even talked about the SEC tiebreaker stuff. They do sit in a perfect spot. And remember, it is the top teams, not top winners of their conference. Listen, they could get 2, they could get 3. Here's the thing that I sit at the current moment. I have a hard time believing at the current moment, let's say Alabama or A&M wins, even though Alabama does have 2 losses, that Georgia would not be behind them because of the win. You know what they're going to do to Bama. I don't care what anybody tells me. I'm going to have to see them put Georgia ahead of Bama. I'm going to have to see it.
Second, they will.
Well, they'd have won the conference, and they would have beaten Georgia. But, we just argued about Notre Dame and Miami for quite a while, so who really freaking knows anymore?
Yeah, that's my point.
But to your point, they do sit in a really good spot. I think they're hitting their stride. But if you're Kirby Smart, I think Kirby wants to win the SEC, and I also think that he doesn't want his team being off for that long.
Yeah, I'm kind of conflicted, but it just from the – I agree with you on that. I don't think he's the type of coach that wants to be –
No, Kirby Smart wants to win the SEC.
Right.
You know that, and I know that.
Right.
But they do sit it. Last thing I'd say here on this show before we move on and get to our playoff projections, Utah being at 12 and ahead of Miami, Vanderbilt, and USC is criminal. It's stupid. It is so dumb. It is so dumb. All of those teams have 2 losses.
It doesn't make any sense.
It makes no sense. BYU, too, they have no business being there. All right. Joe, let's move to our playoff projections presented by our good friends over at FanDuel. This is not Joe and I's power rankings, which we do every Wednesday. This is where we project 1 through 12. If the playoff were to start today, or not today, if we're projecting the playoff in the future, this is where we would project the top 12 to be. Joe, who are your top 12?
At number 1, Ohio State. At number 2, Texas A&M. At number 3, Georgia. 4, Indiana. 5, Texas Tech. 6, Oregon. 7, Ole Miss. 8, Notre Dame. 9, Oklahoma. 10, Alabama. 11, Georgia Tech. And Tulane is the G16 that gets in.
So here in my top 10, we have a little bit of shuffling here, but not really. Ohio State at 1, A&M at 2, Georgia at 3, Indiana 4, Ole Miss 5, Oregon 6, Texas Tech 7, Notre Dame 8, Oklahoma 9, Alabama 10, Georgia Tech 11, and the G16 being Tulane. Joe, I think we need to explain why we don't have Miami in and Georgia Tech in. We're saying that they're not going to keep out a conference champion there.
Yeah, so two parts with this. Again, this is based on how things are going. Instead of us yelling at each other, we thought it'd be a little bit more productive to try and guess what we think is going to happen here based on who's going to perform, who's going to do X, Y, and Z. I wanted to create the chaos scenario, by the way, of USC winning this weekend, but I decided not to go that route. Georgia Tech gets in ultimately over Miami. And this is the one thing that's been really weird about these ranking shows that they've done. They haven't acknowledged the fact that Miami's not currently positioned to play in the ACC championship game. Now that can change. There's still a path for them to get in and to play in the game. And I think if they got in, they would win confidently. And that is going to completely alter the way that things are tracking. But I think at this exact current moment, because there are a few spots down in the ACC standings, Georgia Tech gets in. And for anybody wondering, I just said I would have put Alabama ahead of Notre Dame. My essential thought here is if Alabama loses the SEC championship game, which I foresee happening in this situation, they'd probably slot them around that 10 spot. They wouldn't take them out of the playoff field, and they would feel obligated to keep Oklahoma ahead of them.
And that's why I had them there as well. So listen, this is where we're projecting it. Can I get to a conversation with you? I did something I wasn't supposed to do because I don't think Texas Tech is going to lose out. And I think that you're right, that the committee's not going to move them and that they're going to stay at 5. I hate it. I hate it. And I couldn't do it. With my heart of hearts, I couldn't do it. You mean to tell me that Ole Miss, who beat number 9 or number 8 on your eyes thing in Oklahoma and went into their stadium and dog walked them, has Texas Tech done that to anybody in the top 12?
BYU.
No.
Oh, no, they didn't do it on the road. Yeah, they did it to Utah, technically.
But I'm talking about in our projection and in their projection and their standings, Ole Miss dog walked a number 8 team in the country, and then they lost by a touchdown to number 3, or in this scenario, number 4. And you got them at 5? You got them at 5 when Ole Miss, I get it. Here's the thing. You don't know the certainty of Lane Kiffin, which that's a whole different conversation that we can get to a different day. Does Ole Miss not have a better resume based off of the actual teams they played and beat and challenged versus Texas Tech? So what are you rewarding with Texas Tech? What are you rewarding?
Okay, here's one quick thing I want to throw in here because you alluded to it. If Kiffin doesn't coach in the playoff, do they? I actually almost decided to be really toxic and move them to like 10. Because would they pull a Jordan Travis and say that this team is significantly weakened without its mastermind head coach? We can go down that rabbit hole. But, Blake, at the end of the day, this Texas Tech team's not Arizona State like last year. They're not like Iowa State last year. This Texas Tech team is heads above and has proven that they are worthy of being have punched their proven dominant fact that they're the best Big 12 team, that they are a tier above the rest of the Big 12 teams, because what they've done against their 2 challenging matchups against ranked Big 12 teams that shouldn't be ranked as high as they are, which I agree with you on, they smoked them. That was all they had to do. They didn't go out there and they didn't toil with them and mess around with them. They smoked them. I know that you and I are never going to agree on this. I know that you and I will never, ever agree on this because I think Texas Tech is better than you give them some credit for. And I'm not even saying that Texas Tech beats Ole Miss because we're not doing our power rankings at the current moment. If they win the Big 12 championship, they don't lose any more games, they've got a pretty solid resume. Ole Miss isn't in their conference championship.
Yeah, because look at the teams that are ahead of them. I mean, I get you had me not being able to push back until your very last statement of, well, they're not even in their conference championship. Yeah, you know why? Look at the team. Look at the teams that are in there. I mean, Joe, with all due respect, you talk about dominance. Is it more dominating to go into Oklahoma, who's also in the playoff, and is actually one of the better defense in the countries and dog walk them, or a BYU team who we all think is fraudulent?
It's obviously more impressive.
It is more impressive, and they're not rewarding Ole Miss. Now let's get toxic. Oh, buddy, could Ole Miss be out of the playoff here? I don't think.
I don't think it's. I don't think it's taken out. I don't think they would do that.
I don't think that they do that either. But good Lord, could you imagine if Lane Kiffin were to walk away and they're like, "You don't have your head coach"?
I don't think they'd take him out. I think that they would absolutely move him back. I think that they would. They have done. This is the whole problem, and it's. I found the exact rule back when the Florida State thing happened. I posted it on Twitter. It got reshared a million times over by people. It says in there the whole stipulation of, I don't know if coach was referenced, but it brings up the stipulation of if you don't have a quarterback or a key piece of your team, it factors into the decision making. I would think not having Lane Kiffin would be pretty significant.
You think? You think
they're not the same team with Pete Golding or Joe Judge leading the team?
I would understand having them if you don't know the certainty of Lane Kiffin. At the same time, that's not your job. Your job is not to project. Their job is to rank. So based off of their logic, you're right. They would have Texas Tech at 5. I'm being petty. I want to reward. This is my thinking. I want to reward Ole Miss. And if what we project to be right, I want to reward Oregon. I want to reward teams that are actually challenging themselves every week, like going on the road to Iowa. Joe, there's not a team that Texas Tech has played that defensively is tougher and more fierce than Iowa. There's not a team more fierce on the road than Oklahoma. And I just continue to have a problem with not rewarding these wins. I keep hearing everybody just talk about dominance. What dominance? Dominance of what? So if I get out in a situation and say, hey, listen, I know we're not going to agree, but Ole Miss literally dominated one of the teams you thought was supposed to be in the playoff, and you're putting them at 1 at 6 and 1 at 8. Make that logic simple to me. Like, make it more simple to me.
Wait, I had them at 8. I'm trying to remember where I had them.
Oklahoma was at 8, correct?
At Oklahoma, and Ole Miss at
9. Okay, 9. So again, I mean, like, what's the massive separation? The separation played out on the field.
Well, okay, but here's part of the discussion point that we're having now with this is that we're not doing our power rankings. We are talking resumes, and the resume is, we got a super chat from Gabe Henley. He brought this up. Texas Tech beat number 11, number 12, number 23, and was winning on the road against number 25 with their backup quarterback.
Those teams aren't ranked anymore. If you're not going to give the
wait, Utah. Those teams are ranked. Arizona State is number 23 at the current moment. BYU's number 11 and Utah's number 12. So those teams currently.
Isn't it Tennessee?
Oh, wait. Arizona State is now number 25. No, Tennessee's 20. Who is currently 23? I just had it pulled up. Why am I tripping over this?
College football.
Wait, I got it. Houston. They smoked Houston, which I don't think Houston should be ranked, by the way. But
again, what is more impressive? Joe, with all due respect, please get out of my face with that. Thank you for the super chat. Get out of my face with that.
I don't like.
It's not there anymore.
Okay. First of all, again, Arizona State should not be the 25th ranked team. I really don't think that they should be. I don't think Houston's that good either. I don't know who else you would necessarily put in. I think Iowa's better than both of those teams, but it's to the point of their resume. They did accomplish victories in those games, so they deserve recognition for it. In terms of ranked wins, Texas Tech has more overall than Ole Miss. Forget the quality of who they played. Three Lions said regarding Texas Tech versus Ole Miss, Texas Tech is getting the same eye treatment Ohio State gets, but then Tennessee and Texas had a tougher schedule than Ohio State. I don't know. Is that supposed to be against Texas Tech or in favor of Texas Tech?
I don't know.
Okay. The one thing I will agree with you, I think if Oregon wins this weekend, there's a strong case that they move up ahead of Ole Miss, and there's an even stronger case that they could end up passing.
Why? Why?
Well, they would have a.
Tell me why. USC's not a top 9 team. Their best wins against USC, the others Oklahoma. What are we doing?
Actually, maybe that probably wouldn't happen then. Now that I think about it,
what are we doing?
All right, we got to get the picks before we get out of here.
Picks really quickly. Presented by our good friends over at FanDuel. Joe, Oklahoma -7.5 versus Missouri. We're both going with the Sooners.
Yeah, I think this Missouri team is completely just they had no offensive juice with Zollers in. I had higher hopes for Zollers, but I think that Oklahoma is going to smother the hell out of them. I think that they're going to overwhelm them, and they're going to get in and out with this and cover that 7.5 point spread.
Completely agree. I just don't think Zollers is going to be able to throw, and he's going to be under pressure, and I don't know if that running game is going to be able to get going either. Joe, Oregon -9.5. Both of us projecting Oregon to win, but we picking USC to cover.
Yeah, I think that USC is going to keep this thing close. I think that they've shown a lot of fight, a lot of grit. I think that they're going to play a lot more physically than people give them credit for. But as Oregon's shown that they've had an ability to finish out close games late. So I'm going to take Oregon to win, USC to cover.
Another game here. I agree. The only thing is USC scares me in reference to even the cover because they play horribly on the road. So I don't even like that cover either. Vandy -9.5 versus Kentucky. I'm going with Vandy. You're going with Kentucky. I get Kentucky's been playing well over the last couple of weeks, but Joe, they're about to get smoked.
No. Dude, I'm not projecting an upset here. That's a big spread. I really think that this Kentucky team has shown a little bit of life. I think that they've shown some competitive. I'm not saying that they sneak up on them. I'm saying that they lose by 7 or 8. That's it.
I think Vandy's going to dog walk them because they're trying to get the playoff. I'm sorry. I just can't. I can't do it to them. I can't do it to them. Give me Clark Lee getting into the playoff. That's all that we need here. Georgia Tech -2.5. We're both going with Tech over Pitt.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of faith in this Georgia Tech team. I think that, or this Pitt team, their offensive line is atrocious. I think that along the lines of scrimmage, I have to go with Georgia Tech. I think Haynes King's going to have an easy time producing. They're going to put up a ton of yards on the ground. This Pitt team was inflated, and it's going to get proven very quickly in this one.
Listen, I do worry about this Georgia Tech defense. They are god-awful.
Yeah.
Joe, I just think that they're going to be able to cover the 3 here or the 2.5. I think they're going to be able to do it. I just think we're basically picking them to win here. But Joe, if this was on a neutral field, it would be a pick 'em. It would be close to a pick 'em. So it's what it is there. All right, last one here, Joe, before we get out of here. BYU -2.5 versus Cincinnati. Both of us going with the Cougs.
Cincinnati's defense has had issues, and they have not been very consistent. I think BYU can establish things on the grounds, dominate time of possession. I almost thought about taking Cincinnati in this, but Cincinnati has completely fallen off as of late. Tough loss against Arizona, so I can't back them. I
1,000% agree. And here's the bottom line. I just think BYU's the tougher team. And I think when they're going to lean on Cincinnati, and they're ultimately going to break here.
Yeah. No, I totally agree.
All right, buddy. We'll see you on Sunday. Y'all have a good night. Peace.